This episode of the Buffalonian Podcast is brought to you by the Buffalonian division of the Castsource Podcast Network. The podcast network built by Buffalonians for Buffalonians, featuring the Wings with Blue Cheese podcast and the Buffalonian Podcast, with more shows on the way very soon. Find these shows wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or simply visit our website posted in the episode description. Now, without further ado, let's get into the Bills, Sabres, hot takes, and more of the Buffalonian Podcast. All right. Let's go. We are back with the Buffalonian Podcast. I'm Joe Cali, and as always, I'm joined by none other than Dom Loss. And Dom, we're moving on to week 2 of the NFL season here. It was a rough week last week, but we're going to move past it, right? We're going to move past it. The Bills are playing the Vegas Raiders at home for the home opener. So, you can't really complain. Jimmy G coming into town. We'll talk more about that in a little bit, but I should just ask, any more lingering thoughts you have on the loss from last week? Any clarifications that, or, light bulbs that may have gone off in your head since we last talked on Tuesday?
No, I think, as the Bills are doing, they're moving on to week 2. I think we're going to move on to week 2. I think it's tough still a little bit looking back at that game, knowing that you're playing a very good opponent. I know they had Zach Wilson in the game, but I think the Jets are a good team, and it's a road team. You're on the road. You're in a divisional game. Those are very hard to come by, those wins, and to kind of feel like you gave one away it's a little bit different football. And in hockey, you could blow a lead in the third period, but there's 80-some-odd games. Baseball, we see all the time of blown saves in the 9th inning, and
yeah,
even they have – in baseball, you usually have 100 more opportunities. In football, the margin of error is just so low in football of only 17 games, where every game just means so much. To blow a tough road divisional game, a game you probably should have won, it's a tough pill to swallow. But listen, the Bills, last time they lost the opening game of the season, 2021, we all know what they did week 2 the following week to the Miami Dolphins, 35-zip. So hopefully for that kind of bounce back this week against.
I remember that we lost to Pittsburgh that week, right? We were at that game.
Week 1, yep.
Yeah. So
very similar game, very very similar game. Other than there wasn't, I could be mistaken, but I think Josh only had one turnover that game on the strip sack from TJ Watt. So it was a similar game where the offense just looked really bad, and the Steelers' offense looked pretty crappy, but somehow they found a way to get 23 points.
Right, and if you don't remember, later in the year, the Bills did happen to play in one of the greatest games of all time in that divisional round.
Potentially a coin toss away from
the AFC Championship. So again, another reason, let's not freak here. There's no need to worry, go doom and gloom. They're ready to move on. Diggs said he's even tweeted out he's ready to move on. He's good to go. I think the Bills are going to have a bounce back week. And if you have Josh Allen in fantasy this week, watch out for a 40-pointer. And, I think that might be coming. I think the revenge tour is coming. So without further ado, let's break down this upcoming game a little bit here. The Bills, again, play the Raiders at home, like as mentioned. Jimmy Garoppolo's first season with the Raiders. Tom Brady, isn't he a part owner now, or a minority owner?
Minority owner, yeah.
Yeah. He made his return to Foxborough the other day. This is one of the few 1:00 games the Bills have too. So take it in
Mhm.
while it lasts. If you like the 1 o'clock slates, because then they go to 4:25 in prime time for a majority of the season. So I'm looking at the odds right now for Bills Raiders, and it's struggling to pull up, but the Bills are favorites. So I mean that's not a question. I know they're favorites. Do you
The
know the
Bills, I
specific
believe
lines?
Bills are 8.5-point favorites. I think they were close to 9 in the beginning of the week, so they dropped a touch. But I mean, it still shows you that Vegas still respects the Bills as one of the best teams in the NFL. And
Mhm.
while Vegas had a really nice road win against Denver, it shows that I don't know if I was impressed by either team in that game. 17-16, just kind of a meh game. So I think Vegas is one of the worst teams in the conference, to be honest with you. And this is a game that the definition of a get right game.
Yeah, I think the Bills have a real opportunity here to, get the juices flowing, get themselves going again because, as we saw last week, they weren't firing on all
Well,
cylinders at
I,
all.
I,
The
I'll, s-
defense was, but
I'll say this too with the Vegas injuries as well. It seems like Jacoby Myers, who was, I mean, you can make a case their best receiver last Sunday, even with Devontae Adams caught a touchdown. I think he might have caught 2 touchdowns actually. He's probably going to be out of a concussion. Chandler Jones, of all his personal thing going on, one of their better pass rushers is probably going to be out. Jimmy G has a little bit of an ankle injury. He's going to play, and same thing of Adams with a foot, but they're probably not 100%. So you're really getting Vegas at a premium time right now, and another reason why the Bills should really dominate this football game.
yeah, so you were right. Bills are 8.5 point favorites. The over under is 46.5. And then the money line is the Bills are minus 380 and the Raiders are plus 300. So, it's the Bills are favorited. I don't know. Would you take the over or the under in this game? 46.5 points. You think the Raiders are going to put that up to match the Bills?
I think I would take the over because I think the Bills are going to be able to have one of their better offensive games of the year. Like, I think
Hmm.
this is a potential 35+ point game for the Bills, and at that point, you need the Raiders to score what, like 10, 14 points. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I would take the over in this one, even though the over really hasn't been cashing this year.
No, it is not. Mainly because most of the top tier teams in the AFC are they struggled. But anyway, looking at this game, is there anything specific from the Bills that you think, other than like the offense playing better,
Mhm.
right? That's a general answer. Anything specific you want to see from the
Well,
Bills?
I think there's 3 things to really focus on as a fan watching this game is one is the matchup of
Crosby.
Crosby,
We're making new
who's
players here.
98 for the Raiders, big dude, has a lot of tattoos, very easy to see, lines up on the left edge of the defense against the right tackle, Spencer Brown. That's a matchup to look at because that dude's a game wrecker, and you gotta see what kind of do they have a tight end over there? Are they chipping? Is their back coming over and helping out the tackle too? Are they shifting over the offense line to that side? I would say the second thing to look at too is Dalton Cade played a lot, and same thing of Dawson Knox.
Hmm.
The Bills were really successful throwing out of 12 personnel with the double tight ends. Like Josh is very accurate. I would like to see them throwing out of the 12 personnel that Kincaid gets a little bit more air yards. I think it was very inefficient how many
Yeah.
routes he ran compared to how many air yards he got. It was like 0.13, I want to say, because he had 4 catches for 26 yards, but 20 of those were after the catch.
Hmm. Which
So
is very promising as well in its own right. So.
yeah, sure. I mean, it's a little bit of both, but I think
Hmm.
it's more promising just because it was the first game against an elite defense. I don't think the
Yeah.
Raiders have the linebackers or safeties to cover them. So I think when as a fan looking at when they have Knox and Kincaid on the field, can they throw the ball a little bit more effectively down the field, and also can they run the ball more effectively? Because the Jets were countering the double tight ends with a nickel corner, which means you should probably be able to, instead of having a third linebacker, they had another defensive back. And really, having double tight end, you should be able to punish, the Jets for having a light box. They were unable to do that and were very unsuccessful running the ball. So that's the second thing to look at. And then I think the third thing to look out defensively is kind of the role of Taylor Rapp what's going on with Taron Johnson, and are we potentially going to see a little bit more 3 linebacker base personnel, and who's going to be the third linebacker? Is it going to be Dorian Williams? Is it going to be Tyrell Dodson? Because you saw on the big run, they would sub out Taron Johnson for Taylor Rapp, and then you had Taylor Rapp on an offensive lineman, which was a mismatch in favor of the Jets, and they took advantage. So I don't think they should use Taylor Rapp in that role. I think that was a mistake that the Bills made a couple times, and they got really burned on it on run defense. And so I think you may see maybe the Bills get a little bit bigger here, bring in Dorian Williams, who had a really good preseason, because as you know, Ravens and Raiders combined, the Raiders have Josh Jacobs, who led the league in rushing last year, had a very bad game week 1, and I think they're going to try and get him back on track. So that's a matchup to look at. So those are the 3.
Your
As
3 big
fans,
things.
maybe without looking at the ball, you could kind of tell like personnel and matchups what's happening.
Yeah. No. So yesterday, I believe Ken Dorsey took the podium and mentioned that they were holding Allen back from running. Like that was the plan. They wanted to limit that. Do you see that changing for the rest of the season based on the performances? Because I think this game they're going to just let him go. I feel like when you do that, if you try and limit that, that's a competitive edge you're taking away from the offense. And yeah, like he can throw it too, absolutely. But the choices he made were, I think, influenced by let's not run it as much. Let's throw to receivers, even though there was 20 yards open on that first pick and then he decided to throw it down the field, he decided not to run it. Do you think that kind of played into effect and they're going to be like, okay, we need to revisit back to running and all that kind of stuff? Do you think that'll happen?
No, I don't. Because, there's a reason why you brought in Damian Harris and Latavius Murray, kind of take that short yardage kind of back out of Josh's, so you don't have to use Josh for the more hits. And you still saw it on Monday, him taking very unnecessary hits. I think for me, it's not more, they need to, get more designed runs for Josh to loosen him up. It's just, hey, man, you got to trust the guys around you. Like, there's a reason why we signed basically got a new interior offensive lineman with, Osiris Torrance and Connor McGovern. There's a reason why we got you Dalton Kincaid. There's a reason why we gave the keys to James Cook. I mean, there's reasons why the Bills did this. I think Josh just has to trust his guys. And, McDermott says this all the time of doing your 111th. I think yes, there's games where Josh has to do more than just that, like to win. But we saw it on Monday where if he just does his job and does the standard quarterbacking, he doesn't have to be special. We saw this all the time from Mahomes. Like, Mahomes has games where he's not special, but you see at the end of the day, he has 3 touchdowns, 220 yards, and they're winning by 20 points.
Right, because they've kind of taken that. I feel like they took that, not they didn't take the dog out of him, but he used to do the same thing as Allen. He used to be the hero and doing everything where, like you said, now he does have games where he's not the centerpiece of the offense, but he's still putting up 3 touchdowns, 250 yards, and still will rush for a little bit, but you got to spread the wealth.
The offense will always revolve around Josh. It's just that Josh just has to trust his players trust his teammates around him.
Yeah.
If he trusts his teammates around him, he'll be fine. Like, there was multiple times in the Jets game where he bailed from clean pockets because he didn't trust when the protection. There's multiple times where he just didn't let balls go, to Diggs or Kincaid or whatever. So I think for Allen, it's more of, you don't have to hit a home run every play. It's all right to just swing at the ball and hit it, a base hit to left field. You don't have to hit a 450-foot home run every play. I think that's kind of the problem with Josh, is that ever since, he was probably a kid, playing community college, playing at Wyoming, they don't have great weapons, playing early in his career with the Bills. Like, I feel like he's had this mindset where he's got to prove it and he's got to be the offense. But now I think when you get older, you can't be the offense because the hits add up. And then we've seen it with the mental errors. They're starting to add up as well. And listen, Josh is not Joe Burrow. Josh is not Patrick Mahomes, in the sense of, Josh gets in his own head. And I love Josh, but Josh is one of those quarterbacks where it feels like if he makes 2 critical mistakes, the third one, is coming right around the corner. Even as a Bills fan, we could be real
No,
about
we
that.
could be honest. Yeah.
Like the third interception, you
I
could
wasn't
tell
surprised.
after he threw. Well, it was. Well, I wouldn't say the third interception was a surprise. The fumble was not. Like once he threw the third pick, it was like, oh, this is how this game's gonna go. Josh needs to learn how to hit the emergency brake and reset. And
Yeah. I think he
yes,
gets in his own head too much. That's also a
I
thing
think
as
he
well.
just needs to trust the guys around him. If he trusts the guys around him, the Bills will have an incredibly successful season. If
Yeah.
not, the Bills will still have a successful season, but it will be quite the headache for all of us.
Yeah, I would like to point something out as well. You know, we mentioned the 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions, right? 1 fumble he should have just fallen on. If I do recall, a team that made it to the AFC Championship, their star quarterback, who's now the highest paid individual in the NFL, threw 4 interceptions in his first outing last season as well. So I don't think again. We'll move on from it because there's no
Listen, there's no reason to
no.
there's no reason to overreact to week 1. There's no reason to say Josh is not an elite quarterback anymore. But it is okay to admit that as great a quarterback Josh is,
There are flaws in that game was
he
not
has
good.
flaws, and he
Mm-hmm.
has flaws that every quarterback has a flaw. No one is perfect. It's like no one is perfect in life, but no one is a perfect quarterback. And Josh's flaw is sometimes his greatest strength,
Yep.
which is
As LaShawn McCoy
he
put
does
it.
some stuff that
Mhm.
no quarterback dares to do, and when it
Mhm.
works out, that flip to Latavius Murray,
Mhm.
those scrambles that he has, like it's amazing. But
Yep.
when he throws it 50 yards down, the touchdown to Stephon Diggs in the Rams game,
Yep.
like when he's on the run, he throws it 50 yards down the field and he hits a dude. Dawson Knox in 2021, like
Mhm.
it's amazing. But then
Yeah.
when he does it and it's a interception, it's annoying. So you're never gonna get it out of him, but I think there's ways to improve that and just trust your teammates better.
Yeah.
I think that it's not everyone's saying, "Oh my god, they gotta get in his ear and tell him to stop doing this." It's no. The simple message to him is because you don't want to get in his head. Is just
No.
trust your teammates. Trust
Yeah.
your teammates because you were trusting your teammates fine. I mean, Josh, I think underratedly had a 71% completion percentage.
Mhm.
You know, he was throwing the
Even
ball
with
very
the 3
accurately.
picks.
Even with the 3 picks, they
Yeah.
were moving the ball. You know, without the turnovers, they're probably gonna get close to 300 total yards of offense. That's a pretty good day against an elite defense.
Mhm.
So,
And that's something also people are forgetting. You keep saying elite defense. The Jets, it's not a walk in the park defense. You know, it's not like 4 or 5 years ago before Robert Saleh took over. You know,
mhm.
like they're a good team and offensively and defensively. Their run game, they could play classic smash mouth football right there, and they
All
did.
right.
Anyway,
Getting the conversation back, maybe instead of Josh Allen centric to more Raider centric. I think
mhm.
the Bills, what they need to do to Jimmy G is what all teams want to do to take off Jimmy G's and that's disrupt his rhythm. Excuse me,
Mhm.
which is take away the run game with Josh Jacobs and take away his first read. If you do that and you get pressure on him, Greg Rousseau, Leonard Floyd, Jordan Phillips, and Oliver had a pretty nice game. Like if we could get a good game from the defensive line again, I think we're gonna have a lot of success. It's gonna be interesting how they defend Devontae Adams, especially if Myers is out. Renfro might get more of a look, but you have Taron Johnson, who's an elite slot corner, so it's gonna be interesting what they do there. But if they could control the line of scrimmage, and then against the Raiders defense, you know, they have solid corners, but their safeties are pretty poor. So
Mhm.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see you know, a couple bombs to Gabe Davis, like some deep shots here
Right.
in this game. And then I just think they gotta run the ball successfully. There's a lot of times it felt like they ran the ball really well and then they have that like 2-yard loss and all of a sudden they're behind the chain. So the biggest thing for the Bills is to win first down both defensively and offensively. If they can win first down defensively, you're going to cause the Raiders to be in second and long. Jimmy G is going to have to then put them back on schedule, right where you want them. And for the Bills, if you're in second and long, then you're prone to maybe make a big mistake. If you're on schedule, you get momentum, you start getting some rhythm, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, the points will fly. So I think
Right.
that's the last week's key was winning the line of scrimmage, and winning the line of scrimmage is key in every game.
Mhm.
I truly believe this is a game where if the Bills just control first down both defensively and offensively, this is a you know go back to the woodshed kind of game.
Yeah, and I think we could see another Leonard Floyd sack easily. We can see Greg Russo get in there. Matt Milano, I think he's going to be a star in this game again. I think we're going to see him at first team All Pro at the end of the season, personally. But I think you're absolutely right. You just need to hammer it down, stop Jimmy G's rhythm, just slow him down. And on offense, you need to just produce. Josh needs to trust the players. The players need to trust each other. Like, trust in your offensive coordinator too. Just go out there and do what the play's supposed to do and let the magic happen, because that's when this team does it the best, when everything's firing on all cylinders, the pistons are pumping and the engine is moving. So what are your score predictions, though? At the end of the day, what do you think the score is going to be before we move on to the slate for the rest of our top five?
38-20. I think it's going to be 30-20. I think for the Bills, I think they're going to force a couple turnovers. I think they're going to dominate offensively against this Raiders team. I don't think the Raiders have a great pass rush other than Max Crosby. Obviously, he's a game wrecker, but if they could control him, take advantage of the weak safety play. I don't think they have great linebackers either, so they could really control the middle of the field. I think defensively, it is huge that Jacoby Myers is missing this game. The Raiders last week did a really good job against the Denver pass rush of nullifying that and giving Jimmy G a lot of time to go through his reads, and that's why Jimmy G had a lot of success. I think the Bills' D-line is significantly better than the Broncos' D-line, and I think that they'll take over the game, force Jimmy G in a couple errors. And I think, the reason why Jacoby Myers is such a big out is because he's a guy that could separate very quickly, can get himself available really quickly to his quarterback. And the Raiders really attacked the number 2 corner on Denver last week. So it would have been an interesting test for Christian Benford, but
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a game where don't let Max Crosby game wreck and don't let Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs beat you. Let, Hunter Renfrow or Jimmy G beat you. Don't let their stars beat you, and take care of the football. Win on first down.
Yes.
It's a big day.
Take care of the football. I'll hammer that home for you. Take care of it.
I think we're gonna get a big game from Dalton Kincaid.
I think so too.
One of the 2 tight ends I think is gonna have 2 touchdowns.
Him and Knox, I think were combined targeted 8 times. And I think that'll more than double this week. I'm telling you that right now.
I think they're gonna get to the 12 to 15. I think that those 2 are gonna have. I think one of those guys is gonna have a really big game.
I think one each has a touchdown. That's what I'll say. I think.
What's your score prediction?
Score prediction is going to be 42-21. I think the Bills absolutely stop the Raiders, and I think Josh Allen scores 40 fantasy points. I think he makes people remember why he's a top 3 quarterback. He erases from the memory the 4 turnovers total. Sorry, last week, 3 interceptions completely. No one will be talking about that. Stephen A. Smith will have his foot in his mouth all week. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, 42-21. That's where I have it. I have them doubling the score. Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox each have a touchdown.
The Bills have done very good off of wins, and Josh Allen's been really good off of really crappy performances. So
yeah, believe me, roll the highlight reel now. That's all I'm telling you. So 42-21. Dom's got 38-20. That's not too far off from each other.
No, I mean, I think I usually don't like predicting high scores because then you're going to find yourself like 17-14 midway through the 4th quarter. But I just think this is a game where I just think the Bills offense is going to dominate the Raiders defense. And I don't know. I don't trust the Raiders to put I think if the Bills go on them early, I don't trust Josh McDaniels to be able to rally the troops really.
No.
I'm just also another advantage for one more quick thing before we move on. The Sean McDermott and Josh McDaniels have done a lot of battles against each other. With Josh McDaniels being the ex New England Patriot offensive coordinator, so I think that's another thing to look for is that there's definitely going to be, see which guy gets more of an advantage. But McDermott, I think, is going to have a good game plan to see what Josh McDaniels likes and take that away.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's Josh McDaniels, so I mean. I don't know. Not my favorite head coaching choice in the NFL, but I think they should have stuck with the interim coach when Gruden left that one year. Forget his last name, Bisaccio or something like that.
Yeah, Bisaccio. Yep.
Yeah, something along those lines. He rallied that. Whatever. I'm not even going to get. We're not covering the Vegas Raiders right now.
Also, fun fact: first time ever, the Las Vegas Raiders are coming to Buffalo.
Yeah, it was last time. It was
No,
the Oakland Raiders,
the
right?
only matchup that they've ever had was 2020 as Las Vegas, and the Bills took a fat dub on that game.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Josh Allen injured his shoulder, though.
Yes, it was. You're right. I think I see a big dub coming from this one too, as you know. But anyway, moving on. Go Bills. We're gonna move on to the big slate. We're gonna start out with the Ravens versus the Bengals. Dom, do you have the lines for this one handy?
Yeah, I just need 2 seconds because
All right. So the Ravens are playing the Bengals. It's a nice divisional matchup there. I think we have that whole division today on the slate, do we not?
Yeah, I do. 3-point favorites for Cincinnati.
All right. 3-point favorites for Cincinnati. I think that's I don't know. Like what are your thoughts here? Do you think Cincinnati's going to take it after Joe Burrow's performance and the offensive line's performance from last week? Do you think it's a bounce back, or do you think Lamar Jackson and the Ravens absolutely stomp them?
I think the Bengals are going to win. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think for the Bengals, they've always seemed to struggle in week 1. They've always struggled with the Browns. Now, last year, they really struggled with the Ravens as well. But I feel like this is kind of a situation where the Ravens are banged up. They lost their starting safety. Marlon Humphrey, their number 1 cornerback, may not play. J.K. Dobbins obviously was lost for the season. So maybe Mark Andrews plays, but he's probably not going to be 100%. I just really like how I just think Cincinnati is healthier than the Ravens, and I think that's if they were maybe at full strength, I would potentially pick the Ravens. But I just think health has to matter at some point, and losing your star safety, a starting caliber running back, and potentially your best cornerback when you're about to face, a very good passing unit in the Bengals. I think that leads me to pick the Bengals. I think it's going to be really close. I think Lamar and Joe are going to have bounce back games because I think both, even though the Ravens won, Lamar really struggled, and I think it's going to be like a 24-21 type of game with Adam McPherson kicking a game-winning field goal as time expires.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I'm taking the Bengals partly because I want Joe Burrow to bounce back for fantasy football reasons as well. I think he will. But I think it's going to be down to the wire. Both of these teams are good. Baltimore does have some significant injury though. J.K. Dobbins, I mean that's tough. He tore his Achilles last year too, didn't he? One of them. He was out for a long
he
time.
tore his ACL, I think, in
2021.
2021.
ACL in 2021, and that was, I mean, to have Achilles injuries, I mean, it's just those are tough to come back from. Even though Aaron Rodgers is very confident he's going to, they're very tough to come back from. So I'm going
As
to
you can
take,
note.
as I can note, I did not tear. I have to go get a second opinion on mine actually. So we're gonna see what happens with that. We'll keep you updated. I could be recovering with Aaron Rodgers and J.K. Dobbins this season, but no, I'm taking the Bengals. I think like you said, it's going to be McPherson down to the wire, kicking the game winner. But I think it's going to be 17-14. I don't think it's a high scoring game. I think it's 2 touchdowns max, and then we bring it with the field goal right as time expires, as you said. So next game, the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. This is gonna be fun. The Jags are, from what I'm looking at right now, they're 3-point favorites.
No, they're dogs. They're 3-point home
dogs?
dogs. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
The plus means they're dogs, my boy.
No, I'm looking at a different spread then because I'm seeing -3.5 for Jacksonville or -3 for Jacksonville.
I think you're on the wrong one because all the ones I've seen, I say -3 for KC. Some even say -3.5, but nonetheless.
Are they they're in Kansas City, right?
Nope, in
Jacksonville.
In the home state of Florida. Yes, I'm going to take the Jags though. I think this is a game where I don't know what to expect from injured Travis Kelce.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, having him and Chris Jones back is huge, but what is Chris Jones' snap count? What is Travis Kelce's snap count?
Mm-hmm.
Again, health kind of matters in these things, especially when there's 2 really good teams, and the Jags are healthier at this moment. I really like what Calvin really brings to his offense. I really like Christian Kirk to bounce back with
the
more
gambler. You're right. The gambler's cooking.
Yeah, more man coverage type of scheme that the Chiefs run, I think is going to work really well in their favor. I think this is also revenge. I think when you lose to a team in the playoffs, I think it just means a little bit more when you play them again the following season. So T-Law, I think, is going to play at a really high level, and I think the Jags get it done. It's going to be, to me, it's going to be it's like a 31-27 type game. I think this is going to be high scoring. And I think Christian Kirk catches the game-winning touchdown late in the fourth quarter and decides the game.
Yeah. No, I don't want to pick the same teams as you here, but I was going to pick Jacksonville. I think, like you said, Travis Kelce coming back from a hyperextended knee. You don't know the extent of what he's been going through. Chris Jones is coming back, so that is a big factor on the defense. But I just think, like you said, losing to a team the way they did in the playoffs, the Bills, we lost to them in the divisional round in fantastic fashion as well. And I think there's some sort of you're not out for blood or anything like that, but you want to win that game. You want to prove that you could win against that team. And I think hungry dog runs faster, and I think that's Jacksonville all the way. So Doug Peterson, we're going to see him go for it on fourth down a couple times too.
Well, yeah,
tell you that much.
And to add to your point, I think Jacksonville really smells, I don't want to say blood, but smells an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like the Chiefs are already 0-1.
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville, one of the few top teams in the AFC, took care of business and are 1-0.
Yeah.
Heck, if they win this game, they're 2-0.
2-0.
Really, they're probably 2.5. They're 2.5 games up on the Chiefs because they would have the tiebreaker in case they tied. So Jacksonville, this is an early opportunity for them to really make a stand towards the number one seed in the AFC. And again, revenge and that and health, I think, is going to matter. And T-Law being an elite quarterback, I think, can outdo Mahomes, and I think he'll take the dub.
I think the gambler is going to run circles around the Kansas City defense.
I hate that you call him that. Don't disrespect my boy like that.
I'm not disrespecting him. It's like it's a call sign. No, he's the gambler. Calvin the Gambler Ridley. That's who he is.
Calls him better than you, and you're only doing it to make fun of him. Gambling.
It's not to make fun of him. He's not my many of my fantasy teams. I picked him up because I thought he was a sleeper pick late. He was left. I had to. He's been great.
Okay. What leagues for you? And he's a 4th round pick at worst. But okay, I'm done talking about Calvin Ridley. On to our third game.
I didn't give a score prediction here, pal.
Well, you said they were going to win.
If you let me finish, I gotta get my score prediction. Okay. I think the Jaguars win by 10 points.
That's a great score prediction.
Yeah, I have the Jags. It's gonna be a weird game. But I have them beating the Chiefs by 10. So I don't know what number that is, but they'll beat the Chiefs by 10. That's my score prediction.
The next game we have is, I feel like we had to have this game because this team just beat the Bills. Also, it's a team that the Bills are the other team is the team that the Bills are going to play at home, the Dallas Cowboys. So Jets at Cowboys. The Cowboys are 9-point favorites, and for me, I think this is a game where the Cowboys are the obvious pick.
Mm-hmm.
But
you're going under?
I think the Jets cover the spread. I think this is going to be like a 20-14, 20-13. This is kind of like a touchdown kind of game. I just don't trust Dak not to do kind of what Josh did a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What Josh did, I should say.
What Josh did. Yeah, not a little bit.
I think Dak kind of has that potential to kind of, mess around and throw a couple turnovers, especially against this elite defense. I just don't trust Zach Wilson, and I think this Dallas defense is honestly, I could say it. I think this Dallas defense is better than the Bills defense, and so I think they're more. I think the Bills, while they're trying to be more aggressive, didn't only cause one turnover with the interception. I think the Dallas defense causes at least 3 against the Zach Wilson-led Jets offense. So I think 20-13. I think it's going to be more of a defensive battle, and that's going to lead the spread to be closer. But
yeah,
I mean, I think Dak will keep the Jets in the game. I don't think he'll single-handedly give them the win like Josh did.
No, I would agree with you. I think the Cowboys really came out and were like, all right, we're here to play this season. So did the Jets. I mean, they didn't give the Bills a run for their money. They took the Bills' money and won the game. So I think, truthfully, the Cowboys, like you said, Dak might keep this interesting, but the Cowboys win the game. It's going to be a close one, in my opinion. Like you said, defensive battle. I 100% agree with that. I think the Cowboys win it 24-21. I think it's close. I think it's defense heavy, but also you've got some touchdowns coming from the offense. You got CeeDee Lamb. involved. We'll see some takeaways. It'll be an exciting game. I think if you can watch this one, you definitely should, because I don't think they're putting 40-0 on them like they did the Giants, but it'll be close. Both teams will get some points. Both teams will play some good defense. And I think the Cowboys will emerge victorious from this one. So the next game is an AFC East matchup. The Miami Dolphins at the New England Patriots. And Tua had an amazing week last week. 450 something? What?
466.
466. That's what he said in his press conference. Someone talked to him about not being able to throw deep. He just said 466 or whatever, and then laughed. So he's feeling himself. The Dolphins had one of the best games you could have. Tyreek Hill had a great game. They fired on all cylinders. The Patriots gave the Eagles a run for their money, who we saw win last night on Thursday Night Football. But I don't want to say the Dolphins. This could be interesting. I truthfully think so. The Dolphins are coming in off a great week. The Patriots kind of feel like they can get it done. I think it'll be closer than we think, but I'm going to give it to the Dolphins still. I have to give it to the Dolphins. I think they win 14-7. I think it's a lower scoring.
What?
I think I'm telling you, it's a freak low scoring game. Defensive play from Bill Belichick. That's what's going to happen.
I think this is going to be a 20-17 Patriots win. I think they're going to pull the upset in Foxborough.
Oh, I would love that.
And I think the reason why I have faith that the Patriots are going to be able to do this is because, one, Bill Belichick is a defensive mastermind. I don't think he's going to allow the Dolphins to do what they did against the Chargers, which I think the Chargers gave up 17 explosive plays, which is passes more than 15 plus yards. The Chargers just had horrific defensive game plan. I think the Patriots being well coached are going to have a good scheme to slow down the Dolphins. Also, we saw the Chargers really probably exploit a huge weakness in the armor of the Dolphins defense. They really ran the ball down the throat of the Dolphins, and I wouldn't consider the Chargers offensive line to be complete world beaters. I think the Patriots offensive line, now I don't know the injury report on my head, but if they could get their starting guards back, I think they're going to have a real opportunity to control the time of possession, maybe get 35-25 and control the game on the ground for Ramondre Stevenson and Zeke. And I think Mac Jones will be able to kind of make enough plays other than the run game to kind of keep up with the Dolphins offense. And I think they're going to take it. I think they're going to take it, man. At home too. I like a good road dog, a home dog every once in a while.
Yeah. Got the home dog. Yeah. I think this will be a good one to watch too. And for the AFC East, if we could have the Patriots win this one, that would be ideal, for the AFC East standings, at least, to bring up divisional play and everyone could have the same record by the end of the weekend. It could be very interesting here. So
yeah, especially because I also think Josh Uche, if Armstead's not going to play, and Matt Judon are going to have a better games than Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack did. So
yeah, right. So next game, the final game of the slate. The Browns are playing the Steelers. This is a doubleheader on Monday Night Football, by the way. So I don't know what the game is before, but that starts at 7:15. I want to say
Saints Panthers is the game before.
Yes, and that's what week 2 last year the Bills played the Titans in the later slate, and it was actually, I think it was the Vikings and the Eagles playing each other.
That was the second game.
Or the second game. We were the first game. Yes. So there was a doubleheader last year. They're doing that again this year. Divisional matchup. We've got the Ravens in there as well. I think in the Bengals, I think this is going to be a closer game than people think. The Browns really stomped Joe Burrow and the Bengals. They've had his number for a while, though. He has not won a game against the Browns, and Deshaun Watson is back and playing well, it seems. So I don't know. And the Steelers got stomped by the 49ers last week, so this is kind of a bounce back game for them. If anyone bet the Steelers off of preseason looks, I'm sorry for you. I really am. It's just rough, but I'm going to take the Browns here, and I'm going to take that. I'm going to take it 17-14. I think they win by a field goal. Another lower scoring game, but I think the Steelers might, Tomlin on the defense might give them a little run for their money, but You know what? Maybe 21-14. I'll do 21-14 by a touchdown. I'll change it.
Yeah, I think I think the Browns are gonna win. I am concerned about the Mike Tomlin effect, about the potential Steeler bounce back, but I think this Browns defense was so impressive last week. I don't see how they let down against a very vanilla offense in Matt Canada's led Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Myles Garrett's just gonna destroy the game. They have Zadarius Smith now. They have good interior defensive linemen. I think they have just with Jim Schwartz calling the plays, a really good aggressive defense. And I just don't see how the Steelers are going to be able to effectively move the ball offensively. I guess the thing that would concern me again would be the Browns. Would be two things. Would be, you lose your right tackle for the season, so now your rookie Dawan Jones is going to play against T.J. Watt, who just had 3 sacks and like 2 forced fumbles. So that's a concern. And Deshaun Watson didn't look very good last week, and it's kind of like the biggest question mark. The roster is loaded. And the big question mark is the $230 million guaranteed money guy that you paid. We don't know if he's actually good now anymore. So
yeah,
he's the question mark. But I think 27-14. I think the Browns kind of roll, and kind of make a statement going to Pittsburgh and kicking the teeth out of the Steelers again.
Alrighty. Well, I think that's gonna do it for our betting on the Bills segment for the NFL wide segment. Any closing thoughts here going into the end here? Anything you wanna mention?
Just praying for Josh to bounce back.
Yep, me as well. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Buffalonian Podcast, Betting on the Bills 2023. I'm Joe Callie. I was joined by Dom Lawson. Dom, how do you always end these, buddy?
Go Bills, baby.
Go Bills.